So we're known as
Oh,
a show that loves to tell the stories behind the songs and the songwriters who wrote them. So I would love to start off by kind of picking your brain about ships that don't come in. Can you kind of give us the story behind the song and take us into the room as it was written?
yeah, that song would not have come about unless I had told my co-writer Paul Nelson, and I said, "Look, Paul, we were writing another song, and I said, man, I'm not really into this song. I know you got another idea in that book of yours." And I said, I want to write an award-winning song today." And so he reluctantly pulled that title out, and I said, "Are you kidding me?" And for the good Lord above, I mean, he just said, "Okay, here's the chords," and I started playing these chords, and in about 2.5 hours, Paul and I wrote "Ships That Don't Come In," and I that song has changed my life, changed. Joe told me that it changed his career, changed his whole outlook. He first of all, when they found the song, his producer Bob Montgomery found the song. It was he found it by accident on a CD, or with a bunch of other songs, and he played it for Joe, and Joe said, "Man, that's a heavy lyric."
Yeah.
He says, "I don't know if that's me or not." And Bob said, "Look, um, Joe, go in there and sing it one time, just with the guitar. And if you don't want to do it, we won't record it." And Joe came out after he sang it. He says, "Hell yeah!" He says, "This is this is awesome." He says, "We're doing this song. We're absolutely doing this song." And believe me, Chris, I no one could have ever sang it any better than Joe
You
Diffie.
know, I was just gonna say, man, you get these perfect marriages between song and artist, right? And I feel like this is one of those examples of marrying the song with the perfect artist. I know, we have the gift of retrospect and can kind of, hear and see the way things worked out, and maybe that kind of shoots some bias for us. But it'd be almost impossible to hear somebody else on this song, wouldn't it?
Well, it would. It's just one of those songs that. Now, I will just say this: um, the last song Toby Keith ever recorded was "Ships That Don't Come In."
Yeah.
He and Luke Combs are on the Joe Diffie diff tape, the diff tape, volume 3. And when I saw that last year, when they came out with that record, it blew my mind. I said, "Damn, Toby, you really did it. You really did it justice." And so did Luke, and they were singing with Joe, and those tracks were cut back in 2016.
Wow.
Um, uh, Lonnie Wilson, who actually played on every hit Joe ever had, re-recorded all of Joe's hits, and there was supposed to be an album called the Green Vinyl Record, that which never came out. And but after all these years, 30 years plus, Lonnie called me up and told me that the Joey Moy, who was doing the production on the project, wanted to know if he could find the tracks that he cut on Joe, and those are the tracks that they
Wow.
use. And Joey did some sweetening on them and everything. But I'll tell you, it just was mind blowing that that happened. And but Joe, still, there's nobody that can sing it better.
Yeah, and I feel like the song really kind of you mentioned how Joe was maybe a little bit averse to recording it, and I think it was because a lot of Joe's stuff at the time was more up tempo and pick up man and prop me up and
Yeah.
songs like that, and this really didn't fit the brand all that well at the time, but. Man, this song kind of changed the transition of Joe's career and kind of opened up a whole new toolbox for him, I think, right?
It really did. You know, they were kind of calling him Madiddy Diffie back in
Right.
the
Yeah,
day. You know,
exactly.
and as great a singer as he was, that was just an insult to him. But you know, and the songs were what made him. And those songs are great. I love those songs.
Yeah, same.
But Joe just had the guts, um, in spite of a word in a song that no one had ever put into a country song before. And when Paul and I wrote it, I was writing at Maypop at the time, Alabama's company,
Hmm.
and when Paul and I wrote it, after we got through with this, we were like stunned. You know, it's like, you know, we're probably never going to get this song cut because of that one word we used in there, bitch about a dollar.
I was so good.
And
Yeah.
and Alabama had it. They took it in the studio. I pitched it to Tony Brown for the Oak Ridge Boys at MCA. A lot of people they turned it down, and it was because I think because of that word, and it wasn't a bad word. It was just telling the truth, you know.
The word, I think the word was needed, Dave, because of the just the importance of the song, right? Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, you're not going to complain about a dollar. You're going to bitch about a dollar. This is bad stuff, man. This is really, really
right.
bad. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
we think about this 30 years later where everybody's using words like that. But back then, that was really risque as a songwriter to try to get A&R and song pluggers to send it to folks, right?
It was. I mean, in fact, Joe and our band, we were on the label at the same time on Sony on Epic, and I never will forget. There were two or three radio stations that would not play the
Mm-hmm.
record because of the word bitch.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Jack Laymeyer, the head of promotion, brought me in one afternoon. He says, "Let me tell you something, son. Here's a toast." 'Cause he had a little his room. He had on Fridays. We'd look at all the numbers for the next week. You know where our
Sure.
song was going to be. And he said, "Let me tell you something. Here's a glass of Jack Daniels because it was Jack's place, and he always had Jack Daniels on Fridays." And so he said, "We we went number one without them SOBs."
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I love that so much. I wonder what the song would do today without those restrictions. You know what I mean? Just
You know, I mean, we had so much. I mean, actually, Toby Keith and Luke's version of the song got so many millions of
yeah.
streams, and it was just such a compliment for me to this day and time to
Hmm.
have a song. A great song is a great song is a great
And it
song.
still resonates.
You I,
You wrote something that matters, no matter the time or age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't ever say my songs are great. I never do that. But that one right there, and everybody tells me that's my watermark
Hmm.
in this town. Everybody respects me for that song. And I mean, I've written some other songs that I love and had hits with, but Ships That Don't Come In is absolutely the cream, the cherry on the top of my career.
Completely agree, and it's a great tune, an iconic chorus, in my opinion. Just a great song. I was listening to it on repeat last night just to kind of refresh my memory and stuff, and just awesome stuff. Thanks for telling the story.
I can tell you had a tough life by the way you sat and stared. We had to come to push a chair, so I pulled up a chair. We talked of roads untraveled, and we talked of loves untrue, of strings that come unraveled. We were kings and kindred fools. And just when night hit bottom, that old man raised his glass, said, "At least we've had our chances, as those have never had. So here's to all the soldiers have ever died in vain. The insane locked up in themselves, the homeless down on Main. To those that stand on empty shores and spit against the wind, and those who wait forever for ships that don't come in. He said it's only life's illusions that bring us to this bar, to pick up these old crutches, compare each other's scars. The things we're calling heartaches, hell, they're hardly worth our time. You know, we bitch about $1, there's those without a dime. And as he ordered one last round, he said, I guess we can't complain. God made life a gamble, and we're still in the game. So here's to all the soldiers who have ever died in vain. The insane locked up in themselves, the homeless down on Main. To those who stand on empty shores and spit against the wind, and those who wait forever for ships that don't come in. The ones who wait forever for ships that don't come in.